Hello, folks. Good evening. You're welcome to another edition of Just Banter, a very, very exciting one, if I may say. We're on ground here in Tunisia. Tunisia is one of the most beautiful countries in the world. Exciting coastline, fantastic hotels, so many historic sites. Quite a few people have heard of Hannibal, of Cartagena. Carthage happens to be here. As a matter of fact, I'm actually in that ancient city of Carthage. Now, Tunisia is a football crazy country. Everybody loves football. So apart from football, tourism is the other thing that they're known for. But somewhere along the line, something dramatic happened. Tunisia used to be a very, very closed country. They had a leader who was doing quite a few things, but it was a closed community. A lot of people had their misgivings about the way the country was being ruled. So a sequence of events happened. December 17th of 2010, a man named Mohamed Bouazizi had an issue with a local municipality official or something. And somewhere along the line, it degenerated and he got very upset. Then he went to the municipal office and he went there to go and protest. Apparently, he didn't get the type of reception that he was hoping for. Mohamed Bouazizi set himself on fire. That was the beginning, the trigger of the Arab Spring, an event that shook the entire Arab world. It changed the course of history. So many Arab leaders got the brunt of it. And when I say so many, a lot of them were shaken. Of course, one of the most famous is Muammar Gaddafi, who happened to lose his power due to the Arab Spring. You also have the likes of Hosni Mubarak, who had ruled for 30 years, as opposed to Muammar Gaddafi's 42 years. And then you also have Ali Abdullah Saleh of Yemen, 34 years. Bashir Assad, one of the most notable, still in power, but we all know that the civil war is still going on in Syria. But where it all started, the leader of the country actually lost his power as well. His name was Ben Ali. Ben Ali had ruled Tunisia for 24 years. When the people decided to stand up, it became a very, very nasty situation. We're going to play a short video. We'll be right back so you get a feel of what we're talking about. The end of an era. 24 years, and Ben Ali was swept out of office. A lot of people have had different opinions on what has transpired 10 years on after the start of the Arab Spring. Tonight, we have quite a few guests on the show. We have a new addition to the Fromaradio.com family who's going to be coming on. He's conducted quite a few interviews on ground here in Tunis, trying to get a pulse of the people to find out what it is that are their own thoughts when it comes to the Arab Spring. I'm going to be introducing into the studio Ayub Arbi. Hello, Ayub.
Hello, Habib.
How are you tonight?
I'm really fine. Thank you.
It's great to have you on. It's great to have you on as a new member of the Fromaradio family, and it's also great to have you on this particular show so that we could discuss this really interesting event that has shaped the Arab world as we know it today. So, the Arab Spring, what exactly is the Arab Spring?
Okay, just before answering your question, I want to say that I am really excited to be here on my first presence, and I hope we will be having everything fine.
Thank you very much. It's great to have you on. So, tell us, what
So,
exactly is the
yeah.
Arab Spring?
So the Arab Spring is a kind of wave of pro-democracy protests, and it took place in the Middle East and North Africa, beginning in 2010 and 2011. And it's challenging some of the region authoritarian regimes that were existing at the time. It started in Tunisia, then it spread to Egypt, and then to other countries like Syria, Libya, Yemen, and all those countries.
So, the Arab Spring started in Tunisia. So, let's talk about Tunisia. Prior to the Arab Spring, Tunisia had one of the highest levels of education in the world. It was highly ranked. They had so many pilots, doctors spread all across the world. And a lot of people were looking to come into Tunisia for health services, for tourism, and all sorts of stuff. It was even rumored that the former French president, Sarkozy, used to come for his medical treatment in Tunisia. What is the situation right now, 10 years after the Arab Spring?
I have to say that actually the current situation is not very stable, but as we will be seeing from the interviews, all the people, even though they are not like kind of happy about the current situation financially, they are happy about the freedom because currently every Tunisian has the right to express their opinions. Before the revolution, even the internet was kind of restricted to use. So the YouTube was restricted from Tunisia, and even the Facebook was kind of spied on by the government. So you did not have the kind of freedom that you want to express yourself and your thoughts in different fields. So basically, you'll be seeing that almost all Tunisians will be talking about freedom. As for the economic situation, yes, it kind of got like worse since the revolution, and even a lot of people kind of regret that Ben Ali era was over.
Really, they actually voiced that they regret the fact that Ben Ali's regime was over, even with all those restrictions.
Yeah, because a lot of people even are talking about this matter because in his time, uh, there was a kind of control even in prices and people. You can say that of compared to their current situation is the poor class, and the poor class currently is really struggling even to get food and drinks. So that's a really big problem currently.
Okay, so in comparison, looking at just before the revolution 10 years ago and today, over 20% loss in income. The GDP has dropped dramatically. A lot of things have changed. The currency exchange during the Ben Ali period was about 1.2 Tunisian dinar to one US dollar. Right now is 2.66 Tunisian dinar to one US dollar. A lot of economic factors, a lot of people saying that employment is an issue. You have conducted quite a few interviews. Let's have a look at some of those interviews and see what the people on the streets have to say. We'll be right back.
Yeah.
ثورة تونسية ما خرجنا منها بحد شيء براتيكمون كان الحرية اللي هي ولات بتيتا بتي قلة تربية وبرشا حاجات خايبة أصلا قاعدين يسربونا في حاجات خايبة لأولادنا ولصغارنا في التلفزة التونسية في الراديوات في الميديا بصفة عامة دونك مانيش قاعدين ياخذوا في حقوقنا مانيش قاعدين نقدموا كيما العباد اللي نورمالمون تعمل ثورة باش تحسن الوضعية نتاعها باش تحسن المعيشة نتاعها، تحسن في برشا حاجات معناها. هذا كل مانيش قاعدين نشوفوا فيها احنا.
ما نفهم من كلامك اللي الثورة التونسية ما نجحتش.
ما نجحتش.
انت وقت اللي صارت الثورة شنو كنت تصور معناها باش يصير بعد الثورة هذيك كلها؟
بون كنت نتصور اللي فما حاجات باش تبدل. كنت نتصور اللي باش يصلحوا لنا التعليم، باش يصلحوا لنا الصحة، باش يصلحوا لنا ما نعرفش يعملوا لنا حل في المعيشة نتاعنا معناها. فما عباد راهو احنا الحمد لله خالتينهم هكا ناكلوا ونشربوا، فما عباد ميم با معناها خالتين باش ياكلوا ويشربوا. فهمت؟
بالنسبة للربيع العربي كان عندك هكا فكرة صغيرة، كنت تصورها أكثر دولة نجحت في الربيع العربي؟
أكثر دولة نجحت باهي نقولوا الجزائر.
علاش نجم تقولنا هكا ديفلوب شوية؟
هي تنجم تقول قفزت بروحها معناها كدولة. فهمتني؟ أصلا حتى في معناها أمور معيشة وكل خير منا قاعدين نعيشوا. احنا ليه احنا ماشيين ونزيدوا نغرقوا أكثر. فهمت؟ قاعدين يقسموا في الجاتو الفوق واحنا ما با خلطنا شيء. فهمتني؟ يعيشك.
So some very deep insights there. People on the streets expressing themselves, not actually thinking that they have gotten any dividends from the revolution. Now, before we go on, we're going to bring on another guest. Her name is Manal Birashid. Unfortunately, she's not going to be able to join us on video due to some technical issues. But she's somebody who's quite knowledgeable and coming from the outside because she's actually a returnee to Tunisia. And I'm almost certain she was not here during the revolution. So we're going to call her in now and she's going to tell us a little bit about what her opinion is when it comes to the Arab Spring. Hi, Manal. Hello, Manal. Can you hear us?
Hi, yes, I can hear you.
Hi, Manal. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you? Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, thanks for taking out the time. Unfortunately, the viewers can't get to see your face, so we can't put your face, to the voice. So Manal, obviously, you were not in Tunisia during the Arab Spring.
Yes.
What made you come back to Tunisia? First things first.
Okay, so I'll just give like a little short background. So I was born and raised in the States. I decided to move back because, like every Tunisian growing up, you think of, like, you come to Tunisia in the summer and you see how amazing it is and you really want to experience living here. It's like so different. Like I went from, in the US, like I had no time to do anything. It was just constant working and studying. I was like, you know what? I really want to change that lifestyle that I'm living. So I decided to move back. And so that's the reason why I moved back. I hope that answers your question.
The beautiful, you wanted the beautiful beaches, the fantastic long summers, and then the slower pace of life.
Exactly.
But economically, we just saw a video now where the average person on the street was interviewed by Ayub. And the person was, saying they didn't really get the dividends of the revolution. Probably what they were not, what they were expecting, they're not getting. What are your thoughts on that?
Honestly, I disagree with what she was saying. Change doesn't happen overnight, and I'm not saying like how do I explain it? Like basically, the revolution didn't start in La Marsa or Carthage, or it started in Sidi Bouzid. Okay, these people that we were talking, because we talk about people are starving now, and it was better. Some people will say, when Ben Ali was here, we were so much better off. At least we were eating. Honestly, poverty was happening back then too. We just didn't hear about it. So the only difference is now is that we can actually talk about these things. So I find it very ignorant to hear something like that. And there's people that died, like there's people that risked their lives. Like I would have my cousins calling me and telling me we're staying up until like 4 a.m. to make sure that nobody comes to the neighborhood. People were staying up protecting each other. And I remember looking back because I was in high school when the revolution happened, and I wanted to come to Tunis. My mom was like, "Are you crazy?" I was like, "Well, I want to be a part of that. This is history." And to be one of the only countries that was actually like successful in having a revolution, it just breaks my heart seeing people talk about it was better when a dictator was ruling. We're too educated for that. Tunisia is known, like you even said in the beginning, you said Tunisia is known for having educated people. We have the percentage of STEM majors in Tunisia, I think it's like 46%. It's more than than the US, more than Germany. And then I hear people say things like this and it really breaks my heart, you know? I thought we came a long way. And then when I hear these things, and it's not just her, I hear a lot of people say these things just on a daily basis. So like I said, it's very disheartening. So that's what I think about that. And not and I understand people will be like, oh, well, you come from a different situation because you grew up in a different country and you're just coming here, you're a passerby. No, I'm sorry. Like, freedom of speech is one thing you cannot put a price tag on. I'm sorry. So that's what I think about that.
Okay,
there you
well,
go.
when you mention freedom of speech,
Yeah.
a dictator will say yes, there's freedom of speech, but freedom after the speech, I cannot guarantee. So
Yeah.
we could tell the difference when it comes to seeing a dictator in power and a dictator out of power.
Yeah.
Freedom is the thin line in between the two. But for the
Yeah.
economic situation, Tunisia right now, when we talk about education, for instance, Tunisia is ranked 99th out of 167 on the education index. So is it a case of the revolution affected the level of education as well, or what exactly has happened there?
For the case of education, I think that basically the same programs that are being educated since the 1980s or even the 1970s are the same that are being educated currently. So we cannot say that the revolution affected the index of education. But for people who think that the revolution did not have dividends, I think the problem is that they set kind of high expectations, and the media was the way for us to see what is really happening. But the good thing that Ben Ali was doing is that he was kind of doing stuff to hide those things and deal with them secretly, so nobody can know about that. So for education, I would say no, because the programs did not change since maybe 20 to 30 years. So we cannot blame the revolution for such things. And I think the other problem is that people who are currently in the government are not the kind of people that Tunisians were waiting for. There were things that people would kind of bring change, and I want to hear said the example of Turkey, who is really one of the best examples of uh, going from situation that was really bad to improving their situations and becoming a kind of developed country. And that's all thanks to their president. I think the Tunisian people are waiting for someone like that to be part of the government and bring changes to the table.
Okay, so Manal, we're going to be talking about the youth of Tunisia. The youth of Tunisia account for about 60% of the entire population, and they seem to be the ones really affected by the drop in the GDP and all of that. Now we're going to listen to another person on the streets whom Ayub also interviewed, and we'll hear what they have to say as well about this. We'll be right back.
ان شاء الله معناتها يبدو يشوفوا لها ما تصير على خاطر عاد رسميا اعتبار حاكسين اعتبار نقطه من انا بالنسبه لي بدي ثوره صوتيه من هي جرب اللي انت تفكر مانيفيست كنت زينه ما تصوري كنت تفكر يعني شويه من اللي صار شنو كنت تصوري في وقت تسمع ثوره في الجو هي البلاد مش تطلع يعني شوف 10 سنين حاسين اللي كان لا باس عليه ولا مهبوط معناها في رايك انت كان ما صارش الثوره فيه ليه ولا ما يدوم بالربيع العربي بعدين كل كان يسمي عن الثورات كل ثوره اكثر واحده كان يسمي عن الثورات يعطيك الصحه
Okay, Ayub, unfortunately, the graphics in that video were not exactly clear. Can you give us a little talk around what exactly he was talking about?
So this guy is kind of 23, I think, and yeah, he's the part of the people who are kind of mad of the revolution. So what he says basically is that the revolution is bad, but now this era is better, and that we did not gain anything. He even did not talk about freedom. So here, and this is, we can say, like 30% of the Tunisian population. The problem, as I said before, that they are setting high expectations. So uh, they think that after the revolution, they would be having free money, they would be having jobs. But for
Free money.
me, if you have, if you have access
How
to,
can they get free money? Where in the world
yeah,
do you get free money?
that's the problem. And I even had like side talks to that guy. He was telling me that countries like Italy and France are giving free money to their citizens. I I told him, where the hell did you get that from?
Free
That's your
money.
problem. Yeah,
Well, unfortunately for him, and that perspective of his, you have to pay some good taxes for the government to be able to give
yeah.
back to you. So maybe the education needs to be addressed again and again and again for the average person on the streets to be able to understand. Now, Manal, can we have you back on?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. So Manal, so many young people are on the streets and so many of them are complaining about the economic situation in Tunisia. Now, I personally, I have heard quite a few people talk about some of the stuff going on in Tunisia, but I
Mhm.
didn't at any point in time hear the negative side of things. All I've heard from people is the vast opportunities that exist in Tunisia, how a lot of young people need to upskill to be able to fit into the new world. And now you now have COVID-19 and how it has changed everything around. What do you think is wrong with the youth in Tunisia? Why are they not picking up? Why are so many of them complaining about the Arab Spring?
Um, Honestly, what I usually see is I see like a massive exodus of Tunisians. Like I feel like the biggest thing that's frustrating is when, for example, you spend the majority of your like youth in school studying, I don't know, to be an engineer or to be a doctor, and then you see that you're making like, I don't know, like if you're lucky, 1,000 dinars per month, and you like I see like the majority, like I said, the majority of people that I know, they leave the country, and it's really disheartening because um I feel like obviously the future of a country is always its youth, right? And I don't really come across that many people that just complain and don't do anything about it. For the most part, I see them do something about it. It's not always something that I agree with. I think that um, there's like a saying that I always hear. It's like يخدموها كان بلاد تخدمها كان انت في بلادك or something like that. Basically, like you're the only person who's going to fix the country is the people of that country, right?
Yes,
So
true.
when you see people leave, no changes are going to be made, right? And I feel like a lot of times we just kind of look at it in a very individualistic way. You're like, okay, well, I can't continue working here. I'm not getting paid enough, so I'm going to go to another country, and it's just kind of like this constant cycle. I feel like the only way change will happen is if more people speak up, and like just like with the revolution, you constantly have to just make this effort to change. We can't just, oh, we had a revolution and then that's it. I'm sure there's people that are making efforts and they're talking and they're trying to change something about it, but I feel like we need another wake up call, maybe, to make sure that our youth do not go to like France or to the US or whatever. And I feel like honestly, like a big reason, for example, why the US is like a superpower. Obviously, there's other factors, but it's like it gets all of the most qualified people from all over the world, and they appreciate and try to keep those people there. And I feel like in Tunis, a lot of people are just kind of like, oh, whatever. There's going to be another doctor. Whatever. You went to Germany, I don't care. The next one. So I feel like a lot of people just don't feel like they're appreciated here. Um, so there's a lot of factors, but at least that's what I think.
Um,
So,
I
are
completely
you?
agree with, yeah, sorry. I completely agree with Manal in this point, particularly because as for the example of the United States, it is true that the most important factor is its people. And here, the example that I like and that I read a lot about him is Andrew Carnegie. He is one of the richest persons in the history, and the efforts of this guy are the ones that built the United States that you see now. He was controlling the steel of the United States. So one person had a lot of impact on a big country like the United States. So the problem with the Tunisian is their mindset, especially the teenagers, because they are not aware of the changes happening in the jobs, and all they want is job security, like a fixed paycheck. Uh, the problem is that they are thinking that a high salary is gonna solve their problems and that they are gonna be rich and they'll be feeling happy. But the thing that they don't understand is that the problem is in their mindset. They don't understand the changes that are coming, for example, the artificial intelligence revolution, the changes in the even in the type of jobs. So I think the big problem is in the way that teenagers in Tunisia and the young generation is thinking. And all of that is due to simple reason, and it's that the education that we are getting is old, and it is the same that the generation you see in the government got back when they were on our age. So I think here, if we kind of have a renewal of the education system, everything will get better.
You're on mute, Habib.
Yeah. Habib, you're still on mute.
Hear me?
Yeah.
Great.
We can hear you.
Manal.
Yep.
All right, great,
Yes.
brilliant. Now, a lot. Ayub keeps going back to the issue of education. Now, when we keep talking about education, he basically says the same thing, which is the people are not educated enough to be able to manage the change that has suddenly come upon them, so to speak. During that period, shortly after the revolution, probably give or take maybe 3 4 years, a lot of the people that are complaining right now are the people that were just getting to high school or getting out of high school around that time. So probably there would have been quite a lot of disruption. Could that also be accounting for why they are not being innovative in their thoughts and their approach towards the change?
I'm sorry, could you repeat your question?
Yes, I said a lot of the young people during the time of the revolution, give or take 2 3 4 years shortly
Mhm.
after the revolution, a lot of them were
Mhm.
either just getting into high school or just getting towards the end of high school. So could it
Mhm.
be that it was the disruption in the educational system at that time that has affected them so much that they're not able to handle the change that they are seeing so far?
I honestly can't answer that. I'm not exactly sure. I don't want to speak on something that I'm not 100% sure about. So I'll leave this
Yeah.
one to Ayub.
So Ayub, over to you. Can you hear us, Ayub? Do you think it has anything to do with that?
Repeat the last
Hello?
part because I didn't get it.
Yes, so the question I was asking was about the disruption to the educational system during that period. Do you think that is responsible for the youth not being innovative and adapting to the change that they're encountering right now?
I think it, as I said before, it has something to do with the revolution, especially because basically I think we stopped our education for kind of a month, 3 weeks to a month. So it was not kind of a big deal. And the teenagers and the young generation, you see, that time most of them were either in primary school or in uh, middle school. So it's not kind of important. But the problem here is that the education is not based on growing a generation things. They are only looking to grow a generation. They are looking to grow basically machines that people who want to get a job work and 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., have a family, buy a car, buy a house, and that's it. That's the life they want for you. They are not educating people to think more, to think of solving problem, of being an entrepreneurs, of making change and making impact in the society. That's the problem.
But about 82% of Tunisia's GDP is small businesses. How do those small businesses, how do they survive if they are not innovative?
I don't have a big idea about the numbers of small businesses, but I think that most of them are having quite a lot of issues. Um, so that's basically and I think that most people are turning businesses is the fact that they are not finding jobs, and the small businesses they are turning into are like very simple. They are not bringing something new or innovative. Small businesses for them is a restaurant. I don't know. That's very so. For example, if you give of those teenagers, you see, like, can give them 1,000. They don't think about opening something innovative or thinking outside the box and bringing a new solution to a problem that currently exists.
Okay, so the audio was a bit bad there, so we lost you for a couple of seconds. But we're gonna take a short break, and when we come back, Manal, we're gonna come back to you, and we're gonna ask you a question that's related to some of the things that you enjoy about Tunisia, which is the beaches, the hotels, and stuff like that. So we'll be right back shortly after this commercial break. Hello again, viewers. If you're just joining us, you're welcome to another edition of Just Banter. And tonight we've been discussing something that's been of deep interest at this point in time because it's 10 years after the Arab Spring. And 10 years on, quite a few people have their own opinions about the effects of the Arab Spring. Most of them, the youth of Tunisia, where it all started. So we've been talking to two very interesting people, Manal and Ayub. Ayub, as a matter of fact, is a new member of the family of the Fromaradio.com. And he's done quite a few interviews. He's spoken to quite a few people on the streets of Tunisia, trying to find out what are their thoughts on the Arab Spring. Quite a few of them had a few negative things to say, but yet, Manal. Now, when we talk about the beauty of Tunisia, on the average, Tunisia gets about 5-6 million people roughly every year, and it has been consistent for close to 20-25 years, who come in to come and enjoy the beautiful beaches that you have, especially when you look at an island like Jebba. People are always flocking there. Quite a lot of expatriates live there. Quite a lot of foreigners have moved there, as a matter of fact. Now, you enjoy being in Tunisia. You enjoy what the tourism sector has to offer. Do you think things are better right now than they used to be, in your own opinion? What do you think?
So I actually work on a tourism project for work. I work on sustainable alternative tourism. So I think there's a lot of beautiful things to see in Tunisia. I'm a little tired of people selling the same idea about Tunis. Like, to be honest, the ministry has been selling the same idea for 60 years. If you look at a brochure of Tunis, you see like an elderly couple at a spa on the beach. So as a young person,
that goes to roughly the same thing Ayub was saying about the education. So nothing has really changed. It's just still the same stuff being sold over and over and over again.
a cheap, nice beach for Europeans that come here, spend 400 euros, and then you can come have a great vacation, then you go back, which I feel like is very detrimental to the economy. I feel like it's like we're focusing on something that's not that profitable. There's so much more to see in Tunisia, and that's pretty much what I do at work. I'm working on the northwest right now. There's so many beautiful things to see in Tunis, apart from just the beach. There's the mountains, there's snow, there's the Sahara, there's all of that. I do agree 100%. The beaches are beautiful, and I personally love the beach. I live right next to the beach, so I love it so much. But I feel like the tourism industry in Tunisia could be so much nicer if we kind of, how do I put this, evolved and started focusing on things other than the same thing we've known for 60 years. So that's what I think, at least. I'm not sure if Ayub agrees with me or not, but that's what I think. I think, like I said, there's a lot of things that should be changed, and that's what I'm trying to do, actually. So, inshallah, give it a couple years. You just have to be persistent, especially when somebody's used to something for so long. It does take some time for people to adjust to new ideas, especially because there's a lot of people like in the other parts of the country who would benefit a lot from, like I said, alternative tourism. A lot of Tunisians, actually, even the expats, they go on these, for example, like hiking and camping and all of that. And the only problem is, in these other regions of Tunisia, there isn't that many hotels and guest houses, and a lot of them don't have like ministry approval. So if you are going to do something that's not the typical, vacation in Tunis, it isn't going to be something that is approved by the ministry. So that's my my spiel on tourism.
Oh, okay. So now, tourism accounts for a large part of the GDP. A lot of money is being made from tourism and related services. So you have quite a lot of people doing Airbnb. You have quite a lot of people doing the car hire services, tour guides. The artists also make quite a bit from tourists that come and all that. The one thing that I've found the most amazing about Tunisia is the fact that you have had the price of baguette being 200 million for how many years? Ayub?
Yeah.
How did the government manage that? I said you've had the price of baguette being 200 millions for how many years? But now 200 millions is like how much in US dollars?
It's not even 5 cents, I think.
It's not even 5 cents.
Yeah.
6 cents?
Almost, 5.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Kind of insane.
So you have a long, nice, fresh baguette for 6 US cents. And the government has been able to manage to keep that for that long. And yet the people are complaining. So that still beats my imagination. I'm just still trying to wrap my head around it, because what I would have thought was that Tunisia is an African country, regardless. And in Africa, some of the things that you find in Tunisia that are mainstream, that are readily available, it's like you're in Europe. You have constant electricity, you've got good roads, you've got a high level of security. Roughly about 10% of your population belong to your security forces. You have great tourism sector. You still have the educational sector. People switch on the lights day and night. It's the same thing. There's always electricity, Wi-Fi. So why do you have this level of complaints? And the baguette is still 200 millions.
Yeah, for the case of the baguette, actually, I think in Bourguiba's era, 1983, if I'm not mistaken, actually the baguette price was kind of, I think, 80 millims, and it increased 90 millims. That time, Tunisia almost had a revolution. So you can understand the thing.
Oh, is that the year of the bread?
Yeah, the problem is the bread is kind of a culture in Tunisia. everyone
Yes, I
is
know. So
eating
hang on,
bread. And the problem,
I was asking a question. Is that the year of the bread? Manal, are you aware of the year of the bread?
The year of the bread. Yeah, I know. Like when there was like a huge issue happening because he changed the price and
yeah,
the baguette.
that's the yeah.
So
Mhm.
Tunisia nearly went up in flames over the bread.
Yeah.
My goodness. We've seen countries that have been oppressed for dozens of years. The price of things keep going up, and a lot of people keep getting poorer, and they never fought back. And Tunisians are courageous enough to fight because of the price of bread. That's interesting. Ayub, tell us a bit about that.
Yeah. The problem is that the country is kind of promoting bread without knowing it, and are afraid of kind of changing the price because they cannot handle any problem in that. And they are not caring about the environment, because if you look at the waste in Tunisia, I assure you that more than 60% is in bread. And the problem even is that, yeah,
Hold your thought. Hold your thought there. So now that we're talking about bread and it's becoming a bit more contentious, we're going to be bringing on one more guest, another young lady. She's Tunisian as well. This time around, she was born and bred in Tunisia, as opposed to Manal, and she's going to tell us a little bit about that bread issue. Just to just to buttress your point, are you? Hello, Islam.
Hello, people, and thank you for inviting me. So, as I was saying, sorry, I was hearing you talking about the bread issues in Tunisia. So, first, like the bread has an important role in Tunisian life, because people are always talking about the prices of bread, and as Ayub said, they are promoting the bread, and they can't handle a problem in it, and it made always an issue for about the prices, and since Bourguiba's period. And
Hello, Islam. Your mic has been muted. Okay, so I think maybe Islam is experiencing a little technical issue. Her camera was actually supposed to be on, so I don't know what has happened there. But anyways, so now one of the viewers is actually amazed. This is what she said. Oh my God, Tunisia nearly went into flames over the price of bread. Wow, this is interesting. Now, what is interesting about that? Let me tell you. In a lot of countries, you don't have government managing some parts of the sector of the business sectors and then leaving some out. So it becomes much more interesting to find out that the government regulates bread. Reason why people don't know is because they don't understand that eating bread is part of the culture of Tunisia. And a lot of people don't talk about the culture of Tunisia, the great food that you guys have, and the role that the baguette plays when it comes to Tunisian cuisine. Manal,
Yes.
are you still with us?
Yes. Yes. I'm listening.
Yeah. So I said people are not talking about the great cuisine of Tunisia and the role that the baguette plays.
Okay. So yeah, they are absolutely right. Like I obviously I my mom is very conscientious about the amount of bread that we eat. So I'd come to Tunis in the summer and I'd see my aunt eating couscous or pasta with bread, and I'd find it very weird because I was used to seeing like uh, in like elementary school they tell us you're only allowed like one portion of your plate to be carbs, and then I come here and I see that like it's just 99% carbs plus the rest, you know. Um, but the whole instance with the baguette in '84 that actually inspired there was already demands for democracy from what's it called, the French. So it was kind of like a huge it's bigger than just bread, you know what I mean? This was just kind of
Yeah.
like the tipping point, kind of like, you know, when Mohammed Bouazizi, when he set himself on fire, it wasn't just because he was frustrated with what happened. That led to like a whole revolution. So it's always something that's tipping the
There's
the
always
lid
a
over,
trigger.
you know. Exactly, and that
trigger.
was a trigger. So, and especially when it comes to food in the Mediterranean, I'm sure you like in anywhere, but specifically the Mediterranean, just like the Italians and the Greeks and the Moroccans and the Algerians, we all love food here, you know, and food is a way of life. So, a lot of people, for example, they they may not have like I don't know freedom to speak or freedom to do a lot of things, but when it comes to food, it's kind of like when people bring up, for example, Ben Ali and all of that, they're like, okay, well, we can't talk about what we want to talk about, but at least we're eating and we have a home and we you know, it's like the basic needs, you know, like
Yeah.
having a warm home, my tummy is full and that's it. So there's a lot of things that go into it. So yeah, back to what you were saying, the baguette is very important to us. So,
Oh yeah,
and it's
because
always fresh baguette, always.
yeah, it's always fresh. Like a viewer said, he said the Egyptian revolution was mainly about bread. Police
Yeah,
brutality, yes, but bread was the tipping point. So now, food is so important when you look at the Arab world generally. And I
yeah,
noticed that in Tunisia, practically every night before COVID-19, came and threw a lot of a cog in the wheel, you find Tunisian families eating out practically every night. They're always going out. Entire families, tons of them, you're sitting down and they have this massive, impressive spread in front of them, all eating, making merry, happy, drinking Tunisian tea, drinking coffee,
yeah.
and everything seems hunky dory. Now,
Hmm.
if they have access to all these things and they're still able to go out practically every day, why are they complaining? Why do they think they're still not getting the dividends of that, revolution? Why? It's a question that just beats me. Islam, are you with us now?
Yes, sorry, I had a problem in the connection. But
Yeah.
now I'm listening. Sorry again.
Okay. So can you tell us if Tunisians can still afford to go out like almost every day with their families to go eating at cafes, impressive spreads, Tunisian tea, coffee, and all that? Why are they saying that they have not gotten the dividends of the revolution?
Okay, so then when we talk about revolution, we talk about our rights. We talk about many things, but when we see people today are complaining because despite all of that, despite that those situations that Tunisia is living right now, but we still didn't get our rights back, like education. Especially education, because when we see the situation of students today, we are not seeing a real education and all of that. So that's why they are complaining. Also about food, about the poor people. We still seeing today, in despite all this progress all over the world and in Tunisia and despite the revolution, but today the percentage of poverty is growing and growing. Also, for about the security, Tunisia is living a very sensitive period, and as we see today with the COVID-19, it's not secure anymore. There is no security anymore. So that's why I think those complaints are about security, education, because Tunisia is not as it was before. It didn't change anything. The revolution, okay, we have the right to talk, the freedom of speech and all of that, but we didn't see any progress on the economical way and education and poverty, as I said, and especially security.
Wow. So basically, people expected magic to happen right after a revolution. But we have seen that you never know what direction a revolution is going to take. We have seen what has happened in Libya. We have seen what has happened or is still happening in Syria. Syria is there's still a civil war going on. Tunisia is lucky to have pulled through such a huge, huge revolution where the people stood up and actually ousted somebody that had been in power for 24 years. And trust me, it was a minimal amount of blood that was shed in comparison to having an absolute dictator being in power. who could have actually decided to suppress or fight back the same way Bashir al-Assad is fighting back. And then the people still say they are not getting the dividends of the revolution. So a lot of people still have so many questions to ask as regards this revolution 10 years on. What has happened? What is not happening? But the people that seem to be getting the brunt are the people in your age bracket, because you guys are the ones that had such high expectations. But before we go, we're going to be asking you in order of your appearance. So Islam, we're going to start with you again. What are your hopes for the future as regards Tunisia?
Okay, in my opinion, I think I really hope that the education in Tunisia will get better, because today we are seeing very bad situations. Like students today, they are, as we see with the COVID-19 and all of that, we are not studying, we are in a lockdown. And this is making the situation hard for the students. So, and we also, Tunisia and the government don't have the material and the strategy to make the education successful within the internet, as we see in France and America and all over the world, because we are living in very bad situations. So I hope that education will get better, because we have to give an important, we have to give really huge time. The government should give time, and should give all, make all good strategy for the students. And yeah, I just hope for the education will get better. That's all, because when education is good in a country, all other things will come. And that's why then on the employment, it's due to this education's bad situation.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Manal, what are your hopes for Tunisia going forward?
My hopes are, I really want to see just Tunisia be successful, and I really want to see the youth have a stronger, more important role in Tunis. I don't necessarily agree with Islam, though. I'm sorry, Islam, because Tunisia is one of the countries that the more educated you are, the more likely you are to be unemployed, unfortunately, which is not that common throughout the world. But in Tunisia, that's the case. Obviously, having people that are educated is very important. What I want to see is, I want to see the youth of Tunisia, the educated youth of Tunisia, I want them to be the change of the country. I don't want to see Tunisians leave. I want people like me who left to come back and to make a change in this country. So that's what I'm hoping for in the future.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. Ayub, so what are your hopes for Tunisia going forward, and how do you hope to contribute towards the development of Tunisia?
I want to say that the development of Tunisia is in our hands. And I want to say that the population is what makes a country. People are what make a country. And it's not the country that makes the people. So here, there is a proverb that is always said that action speaks louder than words. So Tunisia is hearing me right, even Africa. So
okay,
is that you have internet connection, and
the connection seems to be going in and out.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, your connection seems to be going in and out. Are you?
It's unstable. Yeah.
Okay. Now, Islam, you have come across to me as somebody who is very strongly opinionated when it comes to the issue of the development of Tunisia. Do you see the young people in Tunisia self-educating? Because this is something that's happening in so many developed countries across the world. People are beginning to self-educate rather than waiting on the government to provide education, because the world has become a smaller place. You have the internet in Tunisia now, free access to it. Just pay for what you need and then you get it. do you think people need to start looking towards self-educating a bit more now?
Actually, I really see that people should educate themselves, because today, when we want to be successful in something, and we want to know and research about informations, we have to educate ourselves. We don't have to wait for the government to provide us all the things and the material to make a good education. As you said, we have internet access to the internet today. So I think this is the most this is a very good solution to find out and look for informations, and maybe making startups in the future, because now we are living in a world of startup and business. So I think that we have to be we have to educate ourselves. This is so important. Because now in this situation within the COVID-19, we don't have to wait for the schools to open and the university to open and the exams and all of that. We have to educate ourselves and research for the information. And I think this is a very good solution to be successful in the future and reach the top.
Okay, so I hope the youths of Tunisia are listening to you, because the truth of the matter is, all over the world right now, formal education doesn't seem to be gaining that much traction, and then COVID-19 has come and affect it as well. We've seen a case where so many people self-educate. A lot of people are formally educated, but you see them going back to self-educate to be able to make themselves useful in a particular sector that they've noticed is thriving, and then they can apply their new acquired skills and become relevant, and then be able to create employment for themselves. So we do hope that the youths of Tunisia are listening to you and they start to do something about it, considering the fact that they do have the internet, the greatest thing that happened to the modern world, where you have access to information at the tip of your finger, or your fingertips rather. So we're going to thank you guys very much for coming on. We're going to be playing quite a few videos in the course of the next 2-3 days, still talking about the same Arab Spring and the impact on both the old and the young. Ayub is still going to be very much on ground and still going to be giving us quite a few stuff in terms of content, in terms of interviews as regards the Arab Spring. He's going to be showing off his talent for gathering information and for communicating with people on the Fromaradio.com platform. In the meantime, before we go, we're going to be playing another video for you guys to get another perspective on the Arab Spring. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Habib.
On a December day in 2010, a produce vendor in Tunisia stood in front of a government office and set himself on fire, killing himself. His desperate actions helped spark a revolutionary uprising that has come to be known as the Arab Spring. While the uprising across the Middle East and North Africa did not take place during a specific calendar season, they were commonly referred to as the Arab Spring, an allusion to the so-called Prague Spring, a 1968 democratic revolution in Czechoslovakia. The Arab Spring timeline began in Tunisia, a country that had been under the allegedly corrupt and authoritarian rule of President Zain al-Abidine Ben Ali for more than 2 decades. On December 17, 2010, a working-class vendor named Mohamed Bouazizi was approached by Tunisian authorities about his unlicensed cart. He offered to pay a fine, but instead his vegetables were confiscated, and he was publicly humiliated by the police. Afterwards, to add insult to injury, local officials refused to hear his complaints of harassment. In a show of protest, Bouazizi stood in front of the local governor's office and set himself on fire. He died from his injuries on January 4th. Bouazizi became a martyr who inspired others who were suffering from unemployment at the hands of a corrupt government. His death sparked a Tunisian revolution in which protesters armed themselves not only with signs, but with cell phones, allowing the protest to spread at social media speed. On January 11th, a week after Bouazizi's death, Tunisia's government fell apart, and the disgraced president Ben Ali fled the country. The videos of the successful uprising shared via social media raised global awareness of the protests themselves. State-run news organizations were barely able to keep up. The speed and success of the protest inspired others across the region. Throughout January, protests erupted in Algeria, Jordan, and Oman. By January 25th, the movement reached Egypt, followed by Syria, Yemen, Iraq, Libya, and several other countries. On February 11th, the Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak stepped down, and by the end of the year, Yemen's government was overthrown, as was Libya's, ending the dictatorship and the life of their leader, Muammar Gaddafi, who was captured and killed by Libyan rebel militia. While some of the Arab Spring protests did result in regime changes, not all of them brought about positive change for the working class people like Mohamed Bouazizi. In some cases, the uprisings were co-opted by religious extremists like ISIS, who embraced the revolt against secular Arab regimes for their own agenda. As a result, when governments toppled in places like Syria and Iraq, rebel groups stepped in to fill the void, using strong-arm tactics and even terrorism. In Syria, civil war has resulted in the deaths of some 500,000 people, stoking the fires of unrest. Along with political instability and economic stagnation in neighboring countries, the Syrian civil war has also led to a massive refugee crisis in the region. While the Arab Spring revealed how fast a revolution fueled by technology could unfold, it also once again proved how complicated and unpredictable revolutions can be.
So, pretty interesting. Different perspectives. We've seen another angle, which is the angle of terrorism. Now, we're going to have to say goodnight because our producer's already indicating to us that we've gone way beyond our 1 hour margin. So I'm going to have to say thank you very much to Manal and to Ayub as well for taking out the time to join us on the program tonight. And we hope we're going to have you guys on soon again. And then we can have another nice evening discussing different types of issues that come up very regularly that we talk about on Just Banter on Fromaradio.com. Manal, thank you very much. It's been lovely having you on tonight.
Thank you, Habib. Thank you.
Even though we couldn't see your face, but it's fine,
It's okay next time.
All right, then take care. Ayub,
Thank you.
thank you very much for doing all the hard work that you did over the weekend and trying to get as much information as you could for the viewers to have a bit more information live on ground in Tunis on what is actually going on and actually happening. Thank you very much, and we hope to see you on another show, not this particular one because we know your own show is coming up, and we'll be looking forward to that as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Habib, for that. I just want to say to every Tunisian hearing this, you can be the next Bill Gates, you can be the next Steve Jobs. All you have to do is stop wasting your time on social media. Stop thinking that there is a secret to becoming successful and to bringing impact. Everything lies in here, between your ears. All you have to do is to search and look for it, and you'll be successful. This country will be fine. Thank you very much.
Very inspiring words, Ayub. Thank you. So, the Arab Spring, 10 years on, pretty interesting. So many questions still unanswered. So many people still have so much to say. And Ayub is still going to be getting quite a few of them to still air their views and say something. And we'll be bringing all that to you. We're probably going to be monitoring the Arab Spring and how the different countries that have been affected by the Arab Spring are actually managing this situation at this particular point, because everybody seems to be on edge. Everybody is taking their time to see if there are going to be any follow-ups, so to speak, because a lot of them say they've not gotten the dividends of the revolution. But in my opinion, I think quite a lot has changed. I think so many things have happened that will make you look to a country like Tunisia, probably want to visit, probably want to live, probably want to set up a business. It's a fantastic country, in my opinion. Thank you very much for taking out the time to watch. Now, before we go, as usual, our social messages. We never miss it. Our campaigns are still on, especially when we talk about the issue of rape. It is something that's very dear to us. It's something that we just can't get over the fact that it's of pandemic proportions. We hope that you will take out the time to use the hashtags that are on the screen. No excuse, no to rape, and try to tweet something or post something on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or something. Say something against this pandemic. It's killing our societies. We need to protect our women. We need to protect our children. We need to protect the elderly as well, who are equally vulnerable. So please use the hashtags on the screen, either or both of them. I mean, nothing's stopping you. You tweet something every day or the other, or post something every day or the other. So why not do something in support of wiping out the pandemic called rape? It's terrible. And we're still going to fight all the way to the end to see what we can do to stem this pandemic. Now, remember, COVID-19 is still very real. A lot of countries are under lockdown, especially in Europe. In the United States, it's becoming mind-boggling, the amount of hospitals that can handle the long lines of ambulances that are in the driveways right now. So please, as much as you can, wash your hands as often as you can. Don't touch your face as much as you can. Wear a mask when you're in a public space or on public transport. The recommended space right now, or distance between yourself and the next person in the public space, is 1 meter. It used to be 2, but probably that was not feasible. It's now 1. Please, please, let's fight against this COVID-19 together. Let's try and stay safe. Let's try and stay healthy. And hopefully, we'll be able to go back to near normal if we can go back to normal. It's been great being on the show tonight and having this discussion with these great people. And we hope to see you guys again very soon. I'm sure you enjoy Fromaradio.com. If you have not been listening to the great music that we play on Fromaradio.com, you need to go on there. It's 24 hours, 7 days a week. And it's always jamming and it's always slamming. Somebody actually sent me a message 3 days ago and said, I didn't know that you had such great music on Fromaradio.com. I would say, hey, it's been there, you know. So probably we're not promoting it enough. And we're telling you now, it's there, it's live, it's on, it's been on since March. Go there, listen to some great music, especially if you're of the mature type and you want to listen to great music late at night from, say, 11 o'clock at night. We've got some of the smoothest jams that you would ever hear. Try it out. Thank you very much and good night.